Thanks for being here. This is Truth Seekers with your host, Stephen Campion. Please rate, like and comment on our videos or podcasts. If you are listening to an audio podcast, please rate us 5 stars to help us rise in the search rankings. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment and subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to an audio podcast, we love and appreciate you listeners, but you are missing the live tapings. All our shows are recorded live with video feed. We'd love you to come be a part of our live broadcasts and tapings for the podcast. Head on over to YouTube, click the search tool, the little magnifying glass, put Truth Seekers, one word in the search bar, and hit enter. You'll see a strange and mysterious guy with sunglasses. That means you found the channel. Go there, smash the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to receive up-to-date info on our YouTube channel. We welcome you to be a part of our live taping and our chat room during the live broadcasts. Seek the truth. Speak the truth. This is Truth Seekers. Truth Seekers.
All these ancient prophecies telling us that the world will be transformed.
Wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. It's the wacky world of Wilcock. How much money can he steal? It's the wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. It's the wacky world of Wilcock. How much money can he steal? He makes all this stuff up and claims that it's all true. The aliens want to eat us. Be careful that they don't get you. It's the wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. It's the wacky world of Wilcock. How much money can you steal? It's the wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. It's the wacky world of Wilcock. How much money can you steal?
This is where if I have a live audience, I get everybody to hug each other. I say, give your neighbor a handshake or a hug, whatever you feel is appropriate to you. And that way everybody feels the love a little more. I will never believe it, I will never believe it. Okay, that's fine. Maybe you need 25,000 more years, I don't know, buddy. But look, this is really compelling information, and it's going to get a lot more intense. It's coming up in a couple days here on Sunday, so if you haven't already signed up, we have reopened the cart. We still have the payment plan in place.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. It is time for another episode on Truth Seekers here of the Wacky World of Wilcock. And we have some exclusive new breaking information to bring to you, which will sort of help to peel back the layers of deception that this fake prophet, new age guru, fake Edgar Casey reincarnated grifter has been using. In short, David Wilcock has been basically lying to his audiences. It appears that he's also allegedly, I have to be very careful here, he is allegedly attempting to hide his multi-million-dollar assets from the IRS. And we've heard Wilcock detail that he is some $1.5 million in debt to the IRS. At least that's what he claims. But we have a different picture to share with you, which may shed some light on his actual debts owed to the IRS. Though the documents certainly don't provide a full picture, so we have to fill in the blanks, certainly, I will admit, with some speculation and some interpretation of these documents. Now, previously on the show, we have detailed for you that David Wilcock is claiming in his live streams that he is in the midst of getting multi-million-dollar deals with his shady aerospace company called Stavati Aerospace, which has been sued by investors and called an investment scam and a Ponzi scheme. Additionally, his shady aerospace company is being sued by not one, but multiple, I think it's 3 vendors now, for hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid bills. So the picture, the false reality that David Wilcock portrays to his audience and to the world is that he is the director of, the director of exotic technologies at this multi-million-dollar aerospace company. But once you start digging into that aerospace company, what you find out is they've been in business for decades and they've yet to produce a single product or service that I have been able to become aware of. In other words, they've been in business for decades, soliciting investor money for their projects, but they've never actually completed an airplane to sell anyone, which begs the question, if they can't even build an airplane, how are they building a hover car with a free energy engine that can also power your home? This is all part of David Wilcock's various deceptions. And I'm here to tell you that David Wilcock lies on the internet more than anyone else I have observed. He lies more than any other fake psychic or grifter that we have investigated here. In fact, it just appears that everything in his life is a lie. David Wilcock pretends that he's the director of exotic technology for a big aerospace company, and they're going to build hover cars with a free energy engine. But that's not the truth. The truth is that his aerospace company is a joke. And in fact, recent court documents, which we shared here, confirm that David Wilcock's shady aerospace company's only income is from a garbage company, which is storing dumpsters inside the hangar that he's so proud of, that he said that they were going to build hover cars in. Kind of hard to build hover cars when you're tripping over garbage dumpsters throughout. And this is further proven by the fact that Stavati's CEO has been doing some podcast appearance lately, where he's using a green screen and he's using a picture of the empty hangar as his background. But the truth is that hangar is filled with garbage dumpsters, and David Wilcock won't acknowledge or accept that. But yet court documents prove that that place is filled with garbage dumpsters. So what we get from David Wilcock, false prophet, who, by the way, is pretending or claiming that he's in contact with divine angelic beings who are dictating books for him and want him to sell them to people, which is your first clue that he's not getting these books from angels. Now, I could be wrong, but I did have 12 years of Catholic school and theology study and scripture study and Sunday school and all the rest. Just to be clear from a theological perspective, I asked a few people that I know. One is a Catholic priest who I'm still in contact with. He was one of my high school teachers in theology. I asked him, would an angel dictate any sacred or secret knowledge and then tell the person he's dictating it to sell it? And of course, the priest said, no, that's ridiculous. An angel would not do that. An angel is a messenger of God. And additionally, once I gave him some background information on the person making these claims, he said, oh, no, he's not in communication with angels. If anything, he's in communication with demonic spirits who sometimes masquerade as different things, either Egyptian gods or other angels. They are tricksters. They are deceivers. So certainly, according to this Catholic priest, a demon would communicate with a lifelong New Age grifter scammer and deceive them, but an angel would not. And further, an angel would never just say, here's sacred and secret information, sell it to people. That's not how this works. But David Wilcock misses that. Additionally, we've talked in some detail about this biblical principle called a test of a prophet. Oh, and by the way, I asked a Jewish rabbi and a Muslim imam the same questions, and all three of these highly respected theologians in their respected religions all said the same thing. An angel would not give information to a human and then be okay with the human selling that information to the rest of the human race. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But, I suppose that David Wilcock's followers are so stupid that they don't stop to take, or let me back up. I apologize. They're so gullible and willing to believe this new age shyster that they don't stop for a moment and just apply a little bit of logic. Does it make sense that one of God's angels would give sacred and secret prophecies and information to a career-long false prophet and grifter who has purposefully pushed people away from real and established religions like Islam, Christianity, and Judaism in favor of completely and totally false pseudo-science religions like ancient aliens theory? No, an angel wouldn't communicate with a person like that, in the opinion of every theologian that I have spoken with. And there's also the test of a prophet, which essentially says if the prophet is wrong one time, he's not in communication with divine or angelic sources, because God would not give false information to one of his prophets, period. David Wilcock's own books, the first one in this angel prophecy series, says that Corey Good's information is completely accurate. And just a few weeks after David Wilcock released that first book for sale, Corey Good admitted under oath that he made all that stuff up and he's never been to space. Therefore, if we apply the test of a prophet, David Wilcock is not a prophet. He's a false prophet, completely and totally proven by just being wrong one time. How many times has David Wilcock been wrong in his prophecies? Well, he predicted we'd all get superpowers in the year 2000. That didn't happen. He predicted we'd get rainbow light bodies and ascension was going to happen in the year 2012. That didn't happen. Since at least 1998, he's been predicting these mass arrest events that never happened. He's wrong over and over and over again. Therefore, David Wilcock is not a prophet. Period. Full stop. End of story. David Wilcock is a false prophet. Any theologian would agree with me. Most theologians are familiar with the test of a prophet, which, by the way, applies to not just Christianity, it applies to Judaism and Islam as well, according to those sources that I have spoken with. But back to David Wilcock's shady aerospace company, he's on recent live streams claiming that they're about to get funded and get million-dollar contracts. But meanwhile, some people, like I said, we're beyond just me revealing the truth to people. Now, all around the United States and the world even, we've got an army of truth seekers that are tired of this false prophet taking advantage of vulnerable, desperate people and selling them false information for profit, for personal profit. So Falcon Space, for those unaware, in New Jersey, by the way, I'm still going to contact him. We're going to do a day trip out to Falcon Space. Falcon Space is doing, despite my disagreements with him in the past and some of the sources of his information, he's doing real anti-gravity research. They're trying to crack the code of anti-gravity. And I think he got tired of David Wilcock claiming that he's going to be the father of anti-gravity when he's got literally nothing. Despite my differences with Falcon Space, I can say this: they've got a ton of different anti-gravity experiments in their lab currently. They've got things they can show people and research that they have done, which they are making public through a partnership, I believe, with Jeremy Rise, alien scientist, and others for this APEC organization, which is essentially a group of interested people that are all interested in things like anti-gravity, and they share their research and information. So he got tired. I think he got tired of hearing David Wilcock lie to everybody, and being not so far away from David Wilcock's supposed flying saucer factory, this Stavati Aerospace hangar, which, by the way, is filled with dumpsters. And we played this before, but I'm going to play it again. We'll put our fair use banner up. I don't think Falcon Space minds me. He shared this with me because I think he wants me to share it on the show. But anyway, here's an on-the-ground, boots-on-the-ground report about David Wilcock's shady aerospace company that David Wilcock claims is getting multi-million-dollar deals any day now. Every week he says they're about to get funding and they're getting multi-million-dollar deals coming in. Here's what's really going on.
So we're here in Niagara Falls, New York at Stavati Aerospace, aka David Wilcock's UFO factory. And as you can see, there's nothing going on.
Nothing.
The main entrance is locked. There's nobody there. There's nobody in the parking lot on the side of a semi-busy road, but there's not a single person in the building. And yeah, they're supposed to be in full production right now, and I don't see a single employee there. So,
Not a single person
David
there.
Wilcock, you're full of shit.
David Wilcock, you're full of shit, according to a real anti-gravity researcher. And like I said, I had a lot of, me and that guy went back and forth, I think because he was supportive of some certain UFO personalities, and I was like, that guy's a fraud. But despite our differences, we can both agree on one thing. David Wilcock is a liar. And he's just straight lying to his audience every week, telling them that these big things are happening at Stevati Aerospace. Well, meanwhile, there's nothing going on there except for garbage dumpsters being stored there, which to me is extremely funny. All right. Now we're going to move on to the documents. Of course, this is a Truth Seekers exclusive story. And I mentioned that we've got an army of Truth Seekers now. It's not just me. People are tired of David Wilcock with his false prophecies, his false promises, and his straight lies to his significant following. I think he's got almost 500,000 YouTube subscribers who tune in to hear him lie. It's amazing. So we reported previously, back to the army of Truth Seekers. I especially want to take a moment to thank one of those people. That would be Macario, who has been posting a lot of David Wilcock sort of debunks and material about David Wilcock's lies. And yeah, and so Macario, who's on Twitter, let me share, it's Macario Mend, MACARIOMEND. And he did some public record searches. We have previously detailed that David Wilcock is allegedly or apparently trying to hide his multi-million-dollar home from the IRS. At least that's what people are saying. Those are the rumors, because he transferred the ownership of his home to a sort of shell corporation in Wyoming. I was very curious, who is this shell corporation that is helping David Wilcock allegedly or apparently hide multi-million-dollar assets from the IRS while he is actively, according to David Wilcock, in a lot of trouble with the IRS or under investigation or negotiating about $1.5 million in unpaid taxes. By the way, just so everybody's aware, the multi-million-dollar home, which he transferred to a shell corporation not long ago, is worth an estimated $2 million, more than enough to satisfy his apparent debts to the Internal Revenue Service. So, and this gets into a lot of strange legalese, and just for the interests of fairness and legal purposes, I'm going to be saying a lot of things like apparently and allegedly, and in my opinion, because I'm not a lawyer or law enforcement officer. I'm not an IRS agent. I don't know how these things work, but I do know that David Wilcock, previous to the property being placed into a shell corporation as far as ownership goes, previous to that, David Wilcock had some liens placed against the property. And this is all public record, so Wilcock can say whatever he's going to say. I purposely am not showing his address that this lien was placed on, but this is an individual lien for unpaid taxes placed on his property. The lien issuing agency we can see here is the Department of Revenue. In other words, you don't pay your taxes, they attach a lien to your multi-million-dollar property. And this is also where it gets interesting, because it's not just David Wilcock that has the lien in their name. Apparently, it's also his former wife or ex-wife, Beth B. Hayes, also known as Beth Wilcock or Elizabeth Wilcock. By the way, she's doing events right now, and she's using the name Elizabeth Wilcock. Or I think Wilcock Hayes or Wilcock, I don't know, some other new age name that she made up. But isn't it interesting that she divorced David Wilcock, but she's still going to use his name in her public appearances? And again, this is a lien that was placed on that property that David Wilcock put into receivership or ownership by a shell corporation in Wyoming. And this was placed in 2023, which is very interesting. And again, it's in the name of both David Wilcock and his former wife, Beth Hayes, or Beth Wilcock. So we have previously reported that there is a shell corporation out of Wyoming that apparently David Wilcock transferred the ownership, apparently or allegedly. Well, that's not apparent or alleged. He did transfer the ownership to some Wyoming holding company or shell company. And we also know from public records that that apparent shell company, and I've redacted the address of Wilcock, et cetera, that shell company paid half of David Wilcock's property taxes on that property. The total amount billed for his property taxes was $11,097. And this is 2023, for the year of 2023. The shell company that David Wilcock transferred ownership of his multi-million-dollar home to paid half the taxes, or you'll have to forgive me, I'm visually impaired. I think it's $5,548.83, leaving a balance of the other half that, as of tonight's broadcast, I'm told by the county office in that area, is still not yet paid. So when David Wilcock tells you he's having financial problems, that part's right, I suppose. He's finally telling the truth. He is having massive financial problems. Being a real estate owner myself, if you don't pay your property taxes, you've got real problems, because that puts the property in jeopardy of a sheriff's sale. In other words, if you don't pay your taxes for a certain amount of time, it's different in every jurisdiction. I used to live in Philadelphia. They'd let you go for 5 whole years. But then if you didn't pay your real estate taxes after the 5 years, they would sheriff sale your home. The sheriff would come and evict you from the property, and then they'd sell the home at auction. So David Wilcock, this shady holding company that he transferred the ownership of his multi-million-dollar home in, only paid half of the property taxes. Now, we could speculate here. Maybe David Wilcock was supposed to pay the other half, but hasn't yet. Who knows? But we do know that the real estate taxes on the main property that he owns and broadcasts from is $5,000 in the rears. In other words, he's $5,000 behind. At least this is the best information that I have been able to gather, and I freely admit that I could be wrong in my assessment here. Maybe it got paid and the clerk I talked to gave me the wrong information, but it would appear that Wilcock's property is $5,000 in the hole here. In addition, apparently, to the $1.5 million he owes, according to his own words and streams, in income tax. And I just want to take a moment. Remember that even a conservative estimate for how much income tax a person pays is 20%. So David Wilcock, if he truly does owe $1.5 million in actual income tax that's unpaid, imagine how much the money was that he didn't pay the income tax. What would that be, like $10 million? You know, do the math. What's 20%? If you 1.5 million, you know, that's an awful lot of money. It's as if he didn't pay income tax on something like $10 million, and therefore he owes the IRS $1.5 million in income tax that he didn't pay on the original income, whatever that was. It's quite a lot of money, friends. But here's where it gets interesting. Now, remember that he transferred ownership of his multi-million-dollar home to a shell corporation that was in Wyoming. And now let me find another. I'm sorry, I've got another source here that I have to take the Okay, so Macario found that the Wyoming Shell Corporation transferred its address from Wyoming to an address in Florida. And again, I was very curious, who is it that is helping David Wilcock by essentially, in my view, and if the rumors are true, allegedly helping him hide multi-million-dollar assets from the IRS, who David Wilcock claims he owes $1.5 million to. Who's helping him do that? And the answer is incredibly, incredibly interesting. 1 second. So let me share my screen here so we can show you that the address was changed from the Wyoming Shell Corporation, Vested Funding LLC, to another mailing address that is in Florida. Very, very interesting. So I wondered, and so did Macario, who is it in Florida that is helping David Wilcock allegedly hide multi-million-dollar assets from the IRS, or at least transfer them out of his name so they cannot attach any further liens? Let's be clear. If you own a multi-million-dollar property and you owe $1.5 million in taxes to the IRS, they can attach a $1.5 million lien on your house. And you can't sell the property until you satisfy the lien, or you could sell the property and the lien must be satisfied before you get the balance. So in other words, in this situation, let's say his house was worth $2 million and they attached a $1.5 million lien against it. He could sell the home for $2 million, but the IRS would get their money first. And by the way, I just want to say, for David Wilcock claiming he's some kind of super genius, he's so dumb he doesn't realize the IRS always gets their money. They always get their money. They do not let you go. But interestingly, after these initial loans, the $60,000 or so lien, I should say, after these initial liens were placed on his property, he transfers ownership of that multi-million-dollar property to this Vested Funding LLC in Wyoming. But Macario, to his credit, did a bit of digging. And what he found out was very interesting. The address that the Wyoming, and this is where it gets a little murky, so I'm going to try to be as clear as possible. So Vested Funding LLC is out of Wyoming, but then they file a change of address from Wyoming to Florida. Macario looks up that address and he finds who are the residents of that address. And we get the startling answer to who may have been involved in helping David Wilcock, allegedly or apparently, transfer ownership of a multi-million-dollar property while he's got major IRS problems, out of his name and into the name of a holding company, Vested Funding LLC. And I was kind of shocked when I found out who it was, apparently or allegedly, helping David Wilcock move his multi-million-dollar property from his own name into this shell corporation. One of the people registered at the address that the address was changed to is Elizabeth Laurie. And for those unaware, Elizabeth Laurie was the one-time Corey Goode lawyer attack dog. You remember her. She was the lawyer who would threaten all of Corey Goode's critics with lawsuits and send them those angry lawyer letters threatening to sue them. You remember Liz Laurie. Also, Liz Laurie is the person who wrote Corey Goode's last course, or the course before the last one. I'm a little unclear on that. But she wrote an entire course for Mr. Corey Goode, in which he made, according to Liz Laurie, something like $750,000, of which she was due 50% of, and he didn't pay her. So Corey Goode doesn't pay Liz Laurie for writing his course, a course which, by the way, Corey Goode never told his followers that somebody else wrote, and he's just reading off of script somebody wrote him. Corey Goode turns on Liz Laurie. Laurie turns on Corey Goode and sues Corey Goode for her money. And isn't it interesting that apparently Liz Laurie did not learn her lesson to stay away from these new age grifters, because the very address which this Vested Funding LLC was changed to is a property which Liz Laurie once owned recently sold, but still has her business, her legal business apparently is there. And there is multiple businesses at that address, Global Disclosure, LLC, and a few others, all related to New Age, sort of, the New Age grift thing, all registered at that address. So it would appear that Corey Good's former Attack Dog lawyer, who turned on and sued Corey Good, is perhaps involved. I can't confirm that she's involved. All I can tell you is the address that Vested Funding changed their legal address to is a property that Liz Laurie once owned and now has a business at, according to public records. And I want to thank Macario for what an incredible job tracking down the truth of some of this stuff. And I'll see there's a few other things that I can share with you. Yes, so he was able through public records, and I'm thankful that he shared all this information with me, to find out that there are multiple businesses, including Vested Funding LLC, registered at this former home or property owned by Liz Laurie, including Starseed Ventures LLC, which I believe belongs to Liz Laurie. Then there's Vested Funding LLC. And wouldn't you know it, there's a gentleman who lives at that address who is a real estate broker, apparently. So it appears that we have at least shed some light on who it is that is helping David Wilcock avoid future IRS liens, allegedly. I don't know I can't prove that that's why, but why else would he transfer a multi-million-dollar property out of his name to an acquaintance or business associate of his, who was also closely associated with Corey Good? And by the way, also registered at living at this address is another woman who was mentioned in the Corey Good court documents. So isn't that interesting? Liz Laurie is apparently one of the people that may be involved in helping David Wilcock transfer the ownership of his multi-million-dollar home out of his name and into this shell corporation, Vested Funding LLC. I want to take a moment to see if there's some other pertinent documents that I can share. I've shared all these on my Facebook, including the lien documents. They are redacted, so before anybody cries that I'm doxing anybody, even if I were to post them unredacted, these are public records. That would not be doxing, but I did take the time to redact them. And what we know is that Liz Laurie bought that property in June of 2017 in Florida, and then she sold it in March of 2022, but apparently maybe she has a lease or is renting part of that property for her businesses, because her businesses are still registered at that address, and several close associates of Corey Good apparently live there, according to public records, or have their businesses there. So we've shared what we can share. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is it shocking that Liz Laurie, after suing Corey Good and then apparently reaching some form of settlement with him, hasn't learned her lesson, and now she's helping David Wilcock? And I want to know, is Liz Laurie giving David Wilcock money? Is Liz Laurie the one who put up the $5,000 to pay half of the real estate taxes? What is Liz Laurie's financial situation in regard to David Wilcock's multi-million-dollar property? Now, I'm going to be very careful in what I say next, because I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a law enforcement officer. But one thing I'm aware of is I believe, and this is my personal belief, so if I'm incorrect, I will freely admit that and apologize, but I believe that it is illegal to hide assets from the IRS. And then Liz Laurie is an attorney. If an attorney is helping a client perform an illegal act, and again, this is all speculation, I may be completely wrong in this, and by the way, I reached out for comment to Liz Laurie. I left multiple messages requesting that she help me get some clarity on this situation, and as of the time of this broadcast, she has refused any comment. There has been no callbacks or emails or anything like that. No communication. She hasn't communicated with me. So all I can do is speculate, but this is very, very troublesome for both David Wilcock and Liz Laurie, or anybody that helped David Wilcock move his multi-million-dollar home into this shell corporation. Or let me just say it this way. It could be very legally problematic, especially for somebody that's an attorney. But that's all I'm going to say. I don't know, but what I do know is that this looks incredibly shady. David Wilcock, yes, Garage is here and says she may have set up the Wyoming corporation when the old registered agent quit and changed the address to the lawyer who incorporated it. Yeah, well, we're left with a lot of speculation, right? Yes, and Flubber Lane says too many dirty figures and hands involved. Yeah. Jupiter, Florida is one nutty loony bin, says Admiral Rascals. Yes, and Spooky is asking, who was the big donor? David Wilcock is talking about getting checks from big donors. Is that Liz Laurie? And don't you think, and pardon my voice this evening, friends, don't you think that Liz Laurie should have learned that you don't get involved with these new age scammers after her wonderful experience with Corey Good, where she was stiffed out of hundreds of thousands of dollars and then had to sue Corey Good to get her money, apparently or allegedly? Who was the big donor, Spooky? Who knows? Yes, and I'm going to thank you, Garaji. I don't want to say it, but since one of my live chat participants said it, I'm just sharing views and opinions from the live chat. I have to be very careful here. Garaji says lawyers cannot advise a client to commit a crime, nor can an attorney help a client break the law. Well, that is exactly what I'm kind of dancing around here, Garaji. And by the way, I have decided that I am ethically bound as I guess, ethically bound here as a journalist to report this situation to the IRS. So I will be gathering the paperwork. I'm going to write a quick letter saying I've uncovered myself and one of my audience members, Macario, have uncovered this situation that you should be aware of. I don't feel right not reporting it to the IRS, but I want to make it clear that I'm not doing so out of any vendetta or spite or any of that. I simply don't know, when in doubt, share the information. I don't know if I am, it's an ethics question. Is a show host or an investigative journalist or a journalist, are they obligated to share this kind of information with the IRS? I think so. I mean, but again, it's an ethical question. Maybe some journalists would come across this and not share it. I think I'm financially obligated, or not financially, I'm ethically obligated to share this information with the IRS. Interesting. Yes, and Craig Williams says, Corey got a freshly detailed Mercedes 300 series shipped out to him from Miss Laurie. Yes, Liz Laurie is a big donor to Corey Good and David Wilcock, apparently or allegedly giving them thousands of dollars in cash and prizes, including a Mercedes 300 that she gave to Corey Good and then sort of had a repo when they had a falling out. Yes, and Killendale says, see something, say something. Yes, so we're going to do things a little different this evening. And there's a reason for that. I want to be, number one, I want to apologize for my absence yesterday. People should know that there's no place I would rather be than here. And unless something really prevents me from being here, I am here. However, 2 weeks ago, my older son got strep throat. That was 2 weeks ago. And then last week, and he was medically treated and he was fine after medications and a couple of days rest. And then last week, my younger son, he got strep throat. And this week, I got it. I began to feel very sick and ill and have a terrible burning sore throat over the weekend. And wisely, my wife made me go. I said I would give it 3 or 4 days before I went to the doctor. But I went and got a strep test. And yeah, I have a very bad, the medical professional looked at my throat and said, oh my God, I've never seen somebody have strep throat this bad. And my voice is just now returning. I was losing it over the weekend. But I've been medically treated. I've got some meds in me. They don't appear to be doing much because I still feel like hell. but I am here. So I apologize if I have a scratchy throat and if I have a limited amount of time to share with you this evening. I'm supposed to be on bed rest here. So more information to share from John Christian Spadavaccia. And by the way, as I have said, it's not just me uncovering this stuff about Wilcock and his shady business dealings. There is an army of truth seekers out there, and they're all sharing information with me. And we're broadcasting it to a wider audience than people individually have, which I'm very happy that we can do that. So this is John Christian Spadavaccia, who is another great researcher like Macario that you may be aware of, has been sharing information with me. He's literally writing the book on the shady Stevati Aerospace company, David Wilcock's fake hovercar company. And he says, remember Robert Andrew, the attorney that Beskar and Stevati allegedly retained in the Dimitrov suit, but who allegedly ran off with their retainer money. As of May 14th, he is being sued in Arizona for unauthorized law practice. The Robert Andrew affair is detailed in the book I am writing. It's pretty spicy stuff, but I don't have all the facts yet. So for those unaware, David Wilcock's shady aerospace company, Stevati Aerospace, was sued by a man named Dimitrov, who was an investor who invested $1 million and never got his money. So he sued them, and in the court documents called their company an investment scam and a Ponzi scheme. And in that lawsuit, Stevati claimed that they retained an attorney, but he ran off with their retainer money. They claimed they got an attorney who basically stole their money. And it turns out that that attorney was a fake attorney who pretends to be an attorney, and he is now being sued in Arizona for unauthorized law practice. So it just gets better and better with David Wilcock's shady aerospace company. What we find out also, I just want to take a moment to mention that there is these, David Wilcock is sharing these Shadows of Ezra, posts. And then he claimed that the screenshots that were being passed around of Shadows of Ezra saying, I don't even know who David Wilcock is. He sounds insane. Basically refuting what David Wilcock is telling his followers. He said, oh, those screenshots are fake. Well, I received the original screenshots from Macario and confirmed that the screenshots are genuine, and the metadata matches the date and timestamps shown in the screenshots. In his latest stream, David Wilcock is claiming that those screenshots are fake. But now we've had two people with a background in computer science confirm that the screenshots are real. Macario also released the video of the screenshots that further prove that this is a real interaction. So David Wilcock is again lying to his clients. And here's some other fun stuff from David Wilcock's latest stream. In his latest stream, David Wilcock claimed that he's 50. He is 52, I think he said, but he looks 30 years of age. So Osiris Christensen conferred with ChatTBC. And he sent a picture of David Wilcock and said, my name is David. Give me a short, concise answer on how old do I look in this photo. And ChatGPT says, you look to be in your mid-50s in this photo. I just thought that was kind of funny. David Wilcock is claiming he looks 30 years old. And another one from Osiris Christensen that I wanted to share that I think perfectly encapsulates the way many people have been feeling about David Wilcock. David Wilcock has failed to provide any evidence or proof to substantiate any of his grandiose theories and predictions. David's claim of channeling Archangel Michael is an attempt to cloak himself in divine authority, then enthrall the gullible and fill his pockets with their hard-earned coin. Typically, in the face of scrutiny, David Wilcock engages in elaborate mental contortions to rationalize his behavior, evade responsibility, and rehabilitate his public image. David Wilcock is a con artist who relies on you to follow blindly and never think critically. I think that really does kind of sum it up. And Yes, so Macario shared some of the most relevant of the latest stream. At least I think he did. I was hoping I could get to them that way instead of going through this whole stream. I'm not sure that my throat will hold up for a 3-hour David Wilcock stream, but 1 second here. So in his latest stream, he made a lot of ridiculous statements, as usual, and talked about psychopaths again, as usual. I'm constantly think that Wilcock does not know, like, how he looks doing this. Falcon Space says, I'm having a positive day. I'm positive David Wilcock is a scam artist grifter who stole $350 from me for a sham anti-gravity lesson that was complete nonsense. His factory is an empty building, and he promised it would be in full production by now. Let me share that. So, yeah, and you know what? I never heard from those guys. Remember back when David Wilcock was selling his anti-gravity course, and he said, if you take my course, you'll be able to do it too. Well, Falcon Space has an entire lab. They paid him the $333 for that course. And they call his course a sham anti-gravity lesson that was complete nonsense. And remember that Falcon Space has an entire lab. And they have a whole network of real science guys. And they weren't able to reproduce the anti-gravity that David Wilcock promised everybody. And remember, he said, if you take my course, you'll be able to do it too. Well, if a guy with an entire laboratory and a whole network of scientists can't take the information that David Wilcock shares and do it, doesn't that mean that David Wilcock just scammed the public? He said, if you take my course, you'll be able to do it too. This guy's got a whole lab in New Jersey. He's got a whole network of scientists and research people and all manner of resources. He's got a ton of anti-gravity experiments in his lab right now. And he's calling David Wilcock's a scam artist grifter who stole $350 from me for a sham anti-gravity lesson that was complete nonsense. You gotta love it. And again, if a guy with a whole lab and a network of scientists and electronics people can't reproduce what Wilcock is talking about, doesn't that say that Wilcock is scamming people? What hope does an average person, like I just got a bunch of, I got a soldering iron and some tools here in my garage. But if a guy with all this complex machinery and equipment and power supplies, and he's got tool and die equipment, like they can manufacture things and 3D printers and all kinds of advanced, technology, if he's not able to reproduce the anti-gravity that Mr. Wilcock promised everybody, then what hope does the average person have? If a guy like Falcon Space Labs can't take the information shared and make something work, then it seems pretty clear that it's a scam. And this isn't the first time. Remember, David Wilcock has sold people ascension courses, essentially claiming that if you give him $333, you'll learn how to ascend, whatever that means. So far, nobody has been able to ascend. Now we're going to put my fair use banner up. Oh, it's already up. And tonight we're just going to go through the best of clips that people have shared. This is David Wilcock, and he is comparing his critics to the parents of Sandy Hook kids. He's saying it's just as bad. If you call David Wilcock a liar or a scammer, you're just as bad as the people who called out the Sandy Hook parents.
So yeah, I've cried a little bit. I've had some very deep grief, some very deep negative emotions. We are about to get funding though, and there's a couple other sources that popped in this week.
He's always just about to get funding, but what you need to know about David Wilcock's shady, scammy aerospace company, and I talked to a real venture capitalist about that. The first thing that an investor would do is do a public record search to see if there's any lawsuits against the entity that they are about to invest in. And if you do a court record search for David Wilcock, what you find out is that David Wilcock, his shady company, is being sued by a former investor who called it a Ponzi scheme and an investment scam. So who's going to invest if they do a search and find out that another investor invested $1 million, never got his $1 million back? By the way, they promised him $5 million back from his $1 million investment. That might be your first clue that it's an investment scam. You can't do a 500% return on investment, ROI. But the investor that I talked to said there's no way that an investor would not catch this. An investor would do a public record search and see if anybody sued that company or entity they're about to invest in, just to avoid problems and to check if they're shady or not. Certainly, if anybody checked Wilcox, they would find that an investor called them a shady a company that was an investment scam and a Ponzi scheme. But David Wilcock every week is telling people that he's about to get funded and they're about to get new investors to his company. Who's going to invest in a company that hasn't made anything in 20 plus years? Wilcock is a joke, but here he is lying to his audience. Oh, we're about to get funding.
So yeah, I've cried a little bit.
I bet you he cried a lot.
Deep grief, some very deep negative emotions. We are about to get funding though, and there's a couple other sources that popped in this week, both of which could be, you know, around or over 100 million. So if we got that kind of funding, we wouldn't even.
Yeah, who's investing $100 million into a company that couldn't return a previous investor's $1 million, who essentially admitted to being a Ponzi scheme because in the court documents, they admit that they were paying back old investors with new investor money, which is the technical textbook definition of a Ponzi scheme, David Wilcock. But here we are, and he's telling his followers we're going to get, what was it, $100 million?
No, around or over 100 million. So.
Oh yeah, somebody's going to invest $100 million in the David Wilcock shady aerospace company that's being sued by their creditors for unpaid bills, that's being sued by their previous investors, calling it a Ponzi scheme and a scam, and somebody's going to invest $100 million into that? Who's dumb enough? And they have no products. Their only income is garbage dumpsters being stored in the airplane hangar.
If we got that kind of funding, we wouldn't even need to go anywhere else. We wouldn't even need to do any more. That would be enough. And we can get started into production. But I don't know what to say about New York State, man. It's very sad. You know, there was a Sandy Hook verdict. I feel really bad for these people. I mean, I can only imagine what it's like having your children die and then being trolled online. I get trolled online all the time. But no.
He's comparing him getting trolled online to what happened to the Sandy Hook parents, which is despicable and disgusting.
Nobody ever died. And so somebody laughing at you about your kids dying is really horrible.
That's crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And oh yeah, that's another one of those things. Let me check my own Twitter profile because I'm sure I shared this when it was shared to me by Spudwife. Spudwife found an article. So you may be aware that we covered David Wilcock's shady aerospace company getting millions of dollars in tax breaks and incentives from the local municipality, right? And isn't it interesting that the local municipality pulls Stavati Aerospace? They pulled the incentives. In other words, the local government was hoodwinked, scammed, in my view, in my opinion, by David Wilcock and the shady aerospace company. They promised that they were going to create hundreds of high-paying jobs of over $100,000 jobs. And because of that, the NCIDA, which is like the business administration in the Niagara, New York area, gave them millions of dollars in tax breaks and incentives to put their business there. And in a local news story, the local municipality in where David Wilcock's shady aerospace company is headquartered, you know, that airplane hangar with the garbage dumpsters in it, they pulled the funding. So let me share that article with you because this is very interesting. And by the way, I'd like to think that Macario and David Spadavaccia and myself and others may have had some hand in helping to take place because we were calling the local authorities, asking them if they know that David Wilcock is telling people to take baths in his own piss to get superpowers, or in their own piss to get superpowers, that David Wilcock is in communication with angels, and this is the guy you're giving these tax breaks to. Sanborn. Pardon me. I'm losing my voice here, so I apologize. After nearly 3.5 years of promises to build aircraft at a former U.S. Army Reserve station, the Niagara County Industrial Development Agency's patience with Stevati Aerospace, that's David Wilcock's shady aerospace company, has run out. The agency voted to terminate $2.15 million in tax incentives that it awarded Stevati, as its members cited a lack of progress to justify an extension. The fact that there hasn't been any progress is concerning, said Vice Chairperson Jason Krempa. And by the way, I reached out for comment to Jason Krempa and received no reply. Two IDA members, Krempa and Mark Barub, were given a tour of a 47,000 square foot hangar where plane prototypes were due to be built. While they felt the meeting was productive and that the site had potential, very little activity was currently happening there. Agency counsel Mark Gabriel noted that 20 to 40 employees work at the site from companies renting space there rather than Stevati. That would be the garbage company that stores dumpsters there. The IDA granted incentives in October 2020, which were originally going to expire on December 31st, 2023. A 90-day extension was granted in December. Original project documents state that it would cost $25.875 million, with costs having risen since. Stevati promised that 363 new jobs would have been created in Niagara County within 3 years of completion. As of March 2024, Gabrielle said that Stevati had only used $4,000 of tax and benefits, with a little over $50,000 spent on eligible expenses at the site. Stevati requested a 2-year extension to those benefits, but the IDA never grants such extensions beyond 1 year. Speaking before the IDA, John Simon, former NCIDA executive director, said Stevati received a letter of intent on March 20th from an unnamed U.S. ally to retrofit 16 older planes with more modern American parts, with the contract claimed to be worth $600 million. He added that they had between $1.3 million and $1.5 million worth of renovations so far, nowhere near ready for the plans, but enough to get the aircraft in the main hangar for upgrades. Despite having futuristic plane designs on their website and claiming to hold patents on their aircraft, Stevati has reportedly yet to build even one of those planes. Previous reasons given for this delay were the pandemic and that the Department of Defense's attention was on the wars in Ukraine and Israel. IDA members expressed concern about how much of the project will be completed in the time frame of a given extension, resulted in Stevati repeatedly asking for more extensions. I think what's important here is setting a precedent or not setting a precedent, said IDA member Cliff Scott, with Chairperson Mark Onesie sharing the sentiment that granting an extension would set the precedent for other businesses. Simon said that Stevati plans on reapplying for those incentives as soon as possible, which would restart the same 3-year period of using those incentives if approved. It would take them at least 45 days to do so. So what's happening here is that David Wilcock and his shady aerospace company promised the local municipality that they were going to create 363 high-paying jobs. Guess how many jobs they created so far? Not one. Not one. There's not one job created. So again, broken promises from David Wilcock and his shady aerospace company. It's ridiculous that the local community didn't know that David Wilcock is a wackadoo telling people to take baths in his own piss, and he's directly involved in this company. And he's also lying to his followers, saying that they're getting hundreds of millions of dollars worth of deals that never come through. So that's interesting. The shady aerospace company is basically a facade. It is a complete and total facade. There is no jobs. There is no airplanes. They've created nothing since they did this. They have created 0 jobs. I want to take a moment to share with you another thing David Wilcock went after one of our fellow truth seekers, Macario, claiming that he never said that he was abused. So Macario made this sort of hot take showing that David Wilcock did indeed say that he was abused.
They're going to, oh, ha, ha, ha. You know, he's insane. He thinks he was molested. First of all, I never even said I was molested by reptilians. I was eaten by them. The people who molested me did so against my will. February of 2022, Michael tells me I was in a space program. Michael tells me that,
so
that I
stupid.
experienced sexual trauma. They're going to, oh, ha, ha, ha. You know, he's insane. He thinks he was molested.
I can't keep playing that M word. YouTube does not like it. So isn't it interesting here that we have David Wilcock saying, I never said that. And, you know, anybody can go through his streams and prove that he did say that. So here he is again lying to his audience. You gotta love it. Lying to his audience over and over again. And, you know, claiming that his critics are so out to get him, right? Yes, and Light Warrior also pointed out that David Wilcock was able to make enough from his super chats to pay the other portion of his real estate taxes. Isn't that nice? David was able to extract enough green energy from his super chats to pay the second installment on the taxes through the Wyoming Shell Company. Way to go, buddy. Yeah, there has to be a pile of money somewhere. So isn't that interesting that David Wilcock is collecting thousands and thousands of dollars worth of super chats, yet he's not paying his real estate taxes? And that could only be three things: greed, stupidity, or a combination of greed and stupidity. You gotta love it. I thought that we had some other clips that we could share. We could start going through his stream, but unfortunately, because of the strep throat infection, my voice is leaving me, and I apologize for that. You know, the grifters don't take a break, so neither can I, and that's unfortunate. I wanted to be here, but I'm feeling my voice leaving me as I speak, but we'll try to hold on. And I will say that the meds have not appeared to do very much for the situation. I'm hopeful that maybe tomorrow I'll feel a little better. I'm on my second day of the penicillin. So from his latest stream, David Wilcock has once again claimed that they're getting hundreds of millions of dollars of funding for his shady aerospace company. No mention that they just lost those tax breaks, right? No mention at all that they lost the tax breaks. Yes. And I want to share this about those. I'm going to share this as well. This is about those screenshots. First, let me say the Hidden Pod was a perfect show. Okay, so he says, as usual, Wilcock is wrong. If you take a look at the date and time of my first contact with Ezra, it's on Sunday. There are some that take place days after, but most of the times I reach out to Ezra was on Sunday during David's live streams. If you look at most of the messages where I sent Ezra clips, it was on Sunday during Wilcock's live stream. David said Ezra didn't like him. Why hadn't he said something over the past 6 months? The only reason that Ezra, the Shadows of Ezra account, now knows who you are is because of the DMs. David can't stand the fact that he is not important. He really believes that everyone should know who he is. You're welcome, David. He thinks you're insane, but at least he knows who you are now. And this is the communications. So David Wilcock is lying, saying that Shadows of Ezra is posting things because of Wilcock. He doesn't even know who Wilcock is. I'm not connected to him in any way. I'm not sure what I could do to stop him. I have absolutely no connection to this partnerships to anyone. I have no personal. Anyone saying that is being disingenuous. So Shadows of Ezra is calling David Wilcock dishonest and saying, I've never spoken to him. Are arguing still. David Wilcock fans are arguing that the screenshots are not real. Well, we've had two people with backgrounds in computer science look at them and confirm that, yes, they are real. I will share another clip from Macario. So tonight we're going to be doing this a little differently. We may get into the video, but we're not going to get halfway through it as we usually do. And Macario says David Wilcock can't stop describing himself.
If you are
Here's another clip from his latest stream.
Then you are using your catalyst positively, and it won't need to repeat. If things make you angry, if things make you sad, if things make you depressed, and the way that you respond is that you're trying to control other people, control your environment, you want to get enough money that you don't have to worry about anything, you can pay your way out of anything, you want to be rich, you want to be famous, you want to have other people do the hard work for you, and then you make most of the money. This is a very common thing that we see.
I'm not sure if he's describing himself here or Corey Good, because Corey Good famously makes everybody work around him, and then he tries to keep all the money. But it sounds like he could be describing himself or Corey Good.
Economics has gotten terrible. That's why, again, we don't want to create Mick jobs. The Stavati Aerospace jobs are well-paying jobs.
There's not one single Stavati Aerospace job that they've created in 3 years.
We want to create abundance in your life. If you're a happy employee, then we're happy to have you.
Yeah, they don't have any employees, which is pretty interesting. They have no employees, none. So Stavati Aerospace has not created a single job. Yeah, I'm trying to find the original thread. Macario shared a bunch more of these, but you know, I think and David Wilcock also mentions that school was too easy for him and he got straight A's and everybody hated him because he was just so smart. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Oh, and there also is this clip, which I will share with you. An interesting clip. And by the way, I see all you kind and generous benefactors. I'll get to that in just a moment. Before my voice gives out, I will thank each and every one of you super chatters and Mike Larry's. And listen, you got to hit that subscribe button for no other reason that you can get a free membership. Mike Larry has been buying hundreds. He's been gifting hundreds of free Truth Seekers memberships to you subscribers. But the free membership, you're only eligible for it if you are a subscriber, but not yet a YouTube channel member here. He's buying hundreds. He's gifting hundreds of these, Mike Larry, and other generous people are gifting these memberships. I think we're up to 600 members or something crazy. And by the way, as soon as I'm feeling better, I'm doing some special members only and Patreon only, because now we've got like 600 members. And previously we did like 1 or 2 extras a month just to thank you guys. I got to do more. But let's get into this. David Wilcock complaining that people talk too much. The guy who wrote a 50-page letter to Gaia TV to resign is saying that people, you know, he's giving lessons in brevity here.
Be willing to listen to someone without interjecting your personal anecdotes. I cannot tell you how often people do this. One of the most annoying things of the narcissist, not just a psychopath, but just people with narcissism, invariably, if you tell them a little bit about yourself or a little bit about something you experienced, you immediately use that as a launching off point to go into what I call an LRM, or a long rambling monologue.
Yeah, this from the guy who told an hour-long story about a woman who was rude to him at the free spring water place in Colorado where he gets his free spring water. He spent an hour bitching about some lady that was not kind to him.
That's right. The LRM, the dreaded long rambling monologue. You tell somebody 1 or 2 sentences. Hey, you know what? I just had a car crash. Oh my God. Oh, you know, when I had my car crash, it was so horrible. And then I had to go to the hospital. And oh my God, I was in surgery. And, you know, and then, man, I had to raise money to be able to fix my car. And yakety, 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 yak. Wait a minute.
For this guy to complain that people talk too much shows you how incredibly clueless this man is. It's ridiculous.
I told you I just had a car crash. You let me talk for 3 sentences and you go into this huge story about your car crash. If you find yourself doing that,
This is some of his own advice. He should take his own advice.
If you are the one that's
So
talking, if you
stupid.
have conversational dominance, that is the path of control. That is not the path of love and acceptance. And so it's a very easy thing to do. A lot of us are big talkers. I have to watch out for this myself. I love to
Oh, he has to watch out for himself.
talk. I love to share stories. A lot of people love to hear what I have to say.
A lot of people love to hear what he has to say. That's his ego speaking again.
You don't want to do that. You want to be really clear to listen to what people have to say without interjecting your own personal anecdotes. Don't feel like just because somebody tells you that they're sad because their dog is dying, that now you got to tell them a whole story about, oh man, when my dog died, oh,
Oh, no.
I had to go through all this stuff, and then the vet came and we had to get the body, and but then I got a new dog and I was so happy. And, oh, you should get a puppy too. You should get a puppy after your dog died.
You should get a puppy.
I actually watched somebody go through this at a store. This woman told him that her dog died. He cut her off after 2 sentences and went into this huge monologue about how his dog died, and then he got a puppy.
Says the guy who does 3-hour streams, right? And he talks about his slippers for 20 minutes.
And I was like, oh my God, dude, what are you doing? So again, this is about respecting free will. We
got to respect free will. Yes.
And when you are aware of these esoteric truths and things that people don't necessarily want to hear, you always want to follow the rule of 10%.
The rule.
Which is that
it's
you
the
give
rule.
them 10% of what you know, and then you stop talking. It's, again, very tempting to want to go in.
Wilcock needs 3 hours to tell you 10% of something.
I want to tell people, well, I know this about it. You don't know about the evil Illuminati? You don't know about what they're doing? You don't know about the government and how bad it is? And let me tell you this, and let me tell you this, and let me tell you this. If you have somebody who doesn't really know this stuff and hasn't learned this stuff, and you go on and you ramble, it's not going to work.
This guy rambles for 3 hours a week, right? And he's complaining that people ramble. It just kind of shows you this guy is like living in his own delusional fantasy where he's somebody important. So he can ramble, but nobody else should. Yeah. Another one to share here. I kind of like this method. Just share the best clips. Macario's already done it, and I thank him because I truly feel like hell. My throat is killing me, but I'm here, and I wanted to do this tonight, especially to share these documents and this new information. It's exclusive story to Truth Seekers, thanks to Macario.
People can think that they can get away with being evil. They can be negative. That is not true. You're going to get cancer. You're going to get a car accident, and you're ultimately going to die.
Very nice. If you're evil, you're going to die, right? Well, does he even realize that he spends his life scamming people? We have a verified scientist that is saying that an on the record source that's a scientist who owns a anti-gravity lab saying that David Wilcock's anti-gravity course is a scam. And he's saying if you're evil, you're going to die, right? It's so cringe, man. He doesn't even realize that he's describing himself in some of these posts, right? Yes, and people have commented that Wilcock is, here's another one here. We'll share some more of these clips, and then we'll get to the super chats, I promise. Before my voice leaves me, I will thank every single one of you. I see them over there. Just an incredibly generous crowd tonight. We're a viewer-supported show. Throw a couple bucks in our hat. We read every single super chat. I promise to do that before the end of tonight's broadcast.
They wanted people to die. They want people to disappear. But just like with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the higher beings had to allow one nuclear exchange to occur over the course of these two places. They had to allow COVID to occur. They had to allow
the aliens let COVID happen, and the aliens let Nagasaki and Hiroshima happen. It's so stupid.
It was a requirement to wake enough people up to realize that they're being lied to, which is the awakening that leads to you seeing the world as an illusion.
The world is an illusion. His world is an illusion, right? Yeah, and remember that David Wilcock has been promising mass arrests since at least 1998. And here he is again promising mass arrests. Macario says, didn't David say the 2020 election was never going to happen? Well, here he does it again, and the mass arrests are coming.
He said, David, I'm just now joining. No disrespect at all. It's already the middle of June. I'm struggling with the possibility that this will be overturned by November 5th. Could you please give us some info to ease my mind? Yeah, I don't even think the election's going to happen. I don't even think there's going to be an election at that time, because why? Other events are going to supersede that.
Yeah, he predicted that the 2020 election would never take place, and that was wrong. Now he's predicting that the 2024 election will not take place. And remember, he also claimed that if you go to vote in the 2020 election, you may be shot and killed for trying to vote for Trump, because he's a big Trumper and everybody's trying to stop Trump from winning.
And you're going to probably see a bunch of people arrested before November 5th.
Okay, the mass arrests are coming. This time it's before November 5th. Again, he's been promising these mass arrests since at least 1998. They never happen. And then in another clip, somebody showed that he said the mass arrests already happened, and there were barges full of prisoners being taken to Guantanamo Bay. That was years ago. You ever hear anything about that? No? That's because it didn't happen. He made it up, and he was wrong again. Another false prediction from the same false prophet.
Maybe we'll still have it on November 5th, but I don't know. I mean, he said, David.
Yeah, maybe we'll still have it, but I don't know, right? Yeah, and here's the clip. I'm glad I found all these. And thank you, Macario, both for the documents. And I hope he doesn't mind me leaning on him, but he's already posted the best and most relevant clips. Maybe we'll start doing it this way. Instead of going through 3 hours of this clown, just take the best, most ridiculous clips, right? Here's another one. He's claiming he looks 30 years old.
If you have loving thoughts, you'll have a healed body. I mean, look at me. I'm 51 years old. I was born in 1973. You would never know looking at my face. I look like I'm maybe in my 30s.
Does this man look like he's maybe in his 30s? Look at him. Does he look like he's in his 30s? And by the way, I'm saying this as a man who gets mistaken for much younger than I actually am all the time and have my whole life. You remember that kid that looked like he was 10 years old in high school? That was me. I hated it when I was younger. But in my elder years, it's nice that people take you for much younger. But I don't think that's the case with Wilcock here. Look at him. Does this man look to be in his 30s to you? He looks terrible. He's overweight. He's got acne. He's balding. You know, no, you don't look 30, David Wilcock. You live in a fantasy land if you think that. You do not look. And here is one of the most egregious clips from his latest stream. If anybody has anybody that ever died of cancer, and I certainly do, this is an extremely offensive thing that he said. That proves that he's no spiritual guru, because a spiritual guru would never say something like this that's so stupid.
If you stay angry, if you stay in prolonged anger, you will create sickness in your body. If you are an angry person, your body will take you out of incarnation. You will die. The universe will kill you for being negative. You cannot live. And so it will start to shut you down, and it will give you things like cancer. So if you don't want to.
Yeah, and listen, I'm just going to say this as politely as I can. David Wilcock, you're a piece of shit, because I've had a few of my favorite aunts and uncles die of cancer, and they were the least angry people I've ever known in my life. My Aunt Marie was my father's sister, and I loved that woman. She was so kind and wonderful to me and my brother and my whole family. She was so loving, so beautiful, and such a peaceful, positive influence in my life. And she died of breast cancer. She didn't get breast cancer because she was angry all the time, you asshole. And how dare you insult every person that has some loved one that died of cancer by saying they got that cancer by being an angry, negative person, and the universe punished them. Some spiritual guru. What kind of spiritual guru would even imply that your loved one got cancer because they were a nasty, negative person that was angry all the time? So ridiculous that he gets away with this.
When you have cancer, you have to be nice, you have to be forgiving, you have to be loving.
Oh, then what about my aunt who was nice, loving, and forgiving and still got breast cancer and died very young? I think she was 45 when she died, maybe 42. It's been a long time. She died when I was a child, and that was my favorite aunt, my father's sister. She wasn't nasty. She wasn't negative. She was the most loving, peaceful woman I ever knew. And much like my grandmother, her mother, who was a loving, peaceful, wonderful person, who also died of cancer. So what an insult to everybody that has a loved one, a family member, a friend, a colleague, a coworker, or whatever that died of cancer, to imply, well, they got cancer because they were a nasty, negative person. They weren't nice enough. They weren't peaceful, right? What a piece of shit David Wilcock is.
And getting into that loving kindness and compassion will heal your body.
Oh, okay. Okay. Stupid. What a stupid person he is. Mr. 200 IQ doesn't realize that he's saying stuff that's completely and totally, completely and totally ridiculous. 1 second. Once again, here's a clip where David Wilcock is telling on himself. And this is very, very relevant. I'm going to share this. And again, all the clips that we're sharing are fair use. It's transformative work.
And even rich people.
We're educating the public.
If you think, oh, well, if I'm rich now, I can hang around with a rich, that's not true at all. Rich people are some of the worst in terms of ripoffs, because maybe they played dirty to get rich. A lot of people do. And even rich people will.
Maybe they play dirty to get rich.
Oh, well, if I'm rich now, I can hang around.
David Wilcock got rich out of scamming old ladies out of their Social Security money for his fake information and his bullshit products.
Well, that's not true at all. Rich people are some of the worst in terms of ripoffs, because maybe they played dirty to get rich. A lot of people do.
Maybe they played dirty to get rich. And I would ask David Wilcock, did you play dirty? Did you sell people a worthless, scammy, anti-gravity and free energy course and promise people they'd be able to do free energy and anti-gravity too if they just gave you $333 and then nobody was able to do it, including a guy with a whole goddamn lab and a whole team of scientists? You dummy. Right? Gotta love it. This guy really lives in his own fantastical world where he's somebody important. Oh, we've got some more. Got some more. One second here. All right, here, let me share this next one. And we'll get to the super chats as soon as possible. I feel my voice fading out here. I want to make sure that we get to those. But I have a few more things to share here.
Idea of what the law of one has to teach us.
And by the way, the whole law of one is a channeled scam, basically, right?
Are trying to grok.
He thinks it's as important as the Bible.
Saying that I'm not supposed to get mad about anything? Yeah. Ultimately, if you've really practiced and learned the law of one, if you're really applying these teachings to yourself, nothing upsets you.
Well, why is he so upset that people shared screenshots of Shadows of Ezra saying he doesn't know who he is? He got pissed at that.
You don't get mad about anything.
He got mad about it.
You simply stay in a state of grace.
He didn't stay in a state of grace. He attacked his critics, claiming that they faked the screenshots. He lied to his audience, claiming that Macario or others faked those screenshots. That's not true. That's a lie. He lied to his audience because he was pissed off that he was caught lying to his audience. And then he doubled down and lied to his audience some more.
You simply experience forgiveness, compassion, and in the law of one, healthy boundaries are very important as well. So how the hell would he not know who I am?
Here he is getting pissed about the Shadows of Ezra. How would he not know who I am?
How would he not know who I am? I've been covering his material every week for 6 months. He doesn't know who I am? Really?
He said right in the screenshots, he doesn't know who you are, David Wilcock. You lied to your audience claiming that he knew who you were and was posting these things because of your coverage. Turns out, number one, he didn't know who you were until somebody alerted him to you continually sharing his posts and making false claims about him. And number two, he said that you were insane.
All of these comms that are personalized to me, the thing about Crowley, the thing about Lam, I mean, it goes on and on. There's so many of them. I can't even begin to go through all of it. I told you about the dream I had with Hannibal Lecter, and then they say Hannibal Lecter like 20 times in a row.
This is from his previous stream.
And then they're going to make fun of me. They're going to, oh, ha, ha, ha. You know, he's insane. He thinks he was molested. First of all, I never even said I was molested by reptilians.
We just showed you the clip that he did say he was emmed by aliens.
I was eaten by them. I think that's worse. If you're molested, you're at least not being, you know, ripped apart. You're not watching your hand getting eaten by a creature. You know, molesting is terrible, but it's not as bad as that. I mean, I'd rather take that.
And here he insults every victim of SA in the history of SA on Earth. He just insulted every single person, claiming, oh, it's not that bad. I got eaten by reptilian aliens. That's much worse. Some spiritual guru.
That over the other, you know, honestly. So, full point of fact, folks, this is the most disgusting demonic insult I have ever received in my entire life.
Yeah, somebody calling him on his bullshit is the most demonic insult he's ever received. And this is from the previous stream, not the latest one. I apologize. But we'll play this one out.
For being raped before.
Oh, God. I got to watch this because... and again, David Wilcock is telling everybody, all of his followers, that if you question or say David Wilcock lies to his audience, even when you have the receipts to prove that he lies to his audience, then you're going to hell, damn it.
Concoct a fake like this that was easily disproven within less than 24 hours.
It's not fake, it's real.
And ruin your ascension. If you don't get to leave the Earth now,
you're going to ruin your ascension.
25,000 more years in third density, and you're probably going to spend time in hell. And if you make fun of somebody getting killed by reptilians,
you're going to hell.
Through the same thing.
You're going to hell.
All that karma for yourself. And so I asked you also this: if this really was the voice of Ezra,
he got caught lying, and then he lied again to cover up the first set of lies. What a liar!
In Nuremberg, how did the argument of, oh, I was just following my orders, how did that work out? Okay. And then here's another thing. For this guy who's out there trying to get people to watch his content, watch the videos, read the posts, why in the world would Ezra hand a stranger his own murder weapon? In other words,
David Wilcock is implying that if Shadows of Ezra doesn't co-sign his fake claims, that he's ruining his following in his career.
If he really did talk about me with this much hatred, it denigrates and demoralizes his entire platform. If you talk about somebody with that much evil, it's like, wait a minute. You don't have any credibility at all. You just quoted from the Bible. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life.
Oh my God, what a bunch of nonsense.
He sounds insane. What the F is that?
He did say that you sound insane, and the screenshots prove that, David Wilcock. And instead of just owning up to, hey, I was wrong, he wasn't posting because of my coverage, and he doesn't know who I am, you double down. And I just want to make sure that I make this point. We've had two, myself and one other person with backgrounds in computer science, look at those screenshots and say those screenshots are genuine and real communications between Macario, the person who released them, and Shadows of Ezra. I've looked at the metadata. Those are real screenshots. David Wilcock has no background whatsoever in computer science, in computer graphics, in Photoshop, or anything else. He has no knowledge or experience, and yet he's saying those screenshots are fake. Well, we've got two computer science experts that say those screenshots are real, David Wilcock. Now what are you going to do to lie your way out of this? Shadows of Ezra doesn't know who you are and thinks you're insane for the false claims that you're making about him. Absolutely ridiculous. And, you know, this is like the MH370. When you've got 10 VFX experts all saying the videos are fake, but the scammer is saying, no, they're not, you know who you should believe. We've got two computer science, probably recognized experts, saying the screenshots are real, and yet David Wilcock still wants to double down and lie to get out of lying the first time. That's what a liar does. When you catch them in a lie, they lie more to try to get out of the first set of lies. So it's all one big joke, and my voice, I feel it. It is leaving. It is leaving. So yeah, there's a few more here though. And by the way, this is another great one. So remember we covered that Stevati Aerospace is losing their local tax breaks. And now David Wilcock is blaming veterans and a flag for the loss of those millions of dollars in tax breaks and incentives that they lost because they never produced what they promised. David Wilcock and Stevati Aerospace lied and said they were going to produce all these jobs, $100,000 a year or more, 397 jobs we're going to produce. They didn't produce anything. So the local city pulled those tax benefits. Listen to his lie explanation for why they lost those benefits.
Some teachings, the risk he takes to educate the public. Well, yeah, you have no idea. I mean, this is, we are being fully attacked by the local government where we have our military facility in New York State. It is very bad. It's a multi-pronged attack. They are trying to shut us down.
They're not trying to shut you down. They're taking away the tax breaks because you didn't do anything that you promised, because your shady company is a scam as described by previous investors in court documents. It has been called a Ponzi scheme, an investment scam. You didn't produce any of the jobs you promised the local city, so they pulled the benefits. And he's saying that they're attacking us. No, they're pulling the benefits because you people lied and didn't produce what you promised them in order to get those tax breaks.
It's the same thing that's happening to Alex. It's the same thing that's happening to Trump. Same thing that's happening to Steve Bannon. I can't even believe what they've done. We pushed back on Friday, and now they're starting to get scared because nothing that they were doing is really founded in any type of legal stuff. They just feel like they own our building and they're going to take it back.
By the way, his reference to people taking it back might be that there are liens being placed against the property for unpaid bills. There was a sprinkler company that they owe something, to the best of my knowledge and recollection, something like $100,000 to, that is suing them. And what happens when you sue a company, you can have a lien placed on their assets. Their only asset is that airplane hangar that's filled with garbage dumpsters. So there's liens being placed on their property. And they have to pay those bills, or yeah, they could lose the property to unpaid debts.
And they claimed that some veterans were upset about the fact that our American flag has some tatters on it. We did replace it within the last year, but I guess it's gotten bad again. So that's just an expense we're going to have to add in. We're happy to replace the flag.
Oh, how much does the flag cost? $50? Is your company so shady you can't come up with $50 to put an untattered flag? But this is just another in a long line of stupid excuses and lies from David Wilcock. Nobody's attacking him because of a flag, but unpaid vendors that did hundreds of thousands of dollars of work on that facility and were apparently or allegedly never paid sued his ass, and they should get their money back. It has nothing to do with the flag.
But that doesn't mean we should lose our facility.
Yeah, they're going to lose their facility to liens for unpaid bills, you know. Interesting. So I think okay, so one more clip about that situation with the local municipality who is pulling the millions of dollars in tax breaks and incentives. Now he's got more excuses for that.
Amazon is now setting up across the street from us on the same runway. They're being given the red carpet. There's a widespread disdain for Amazon's jobs and what happens to people on those jobs.
Yeah, but here's the difference between Amazon and David Wilcock. If Amazon puts a facility in your town and promises 300 jobs, they do provide 300 jobs. And regardless of what you think of those jobs, they actually they come through with their promises of jobs. David Wilcock and his shady aerospace company promised all these jobs, didn't create one. But now he's upset because how dare the local municipality give the tax breaks and incentives to a company that will actually produce the jobs they promise, you know, when they didn't produce any jobs.
But instead of working with us, they're working with them, and it's very likely that they're trying to hand the facility over to them. This is going to backfire on them spectacularly, okay? But it has caused me to have an incredibly bad week. All of my money has been put into this facility, and
he's going to lose every penny.
They're just acting like they can take it back from us. They're not going to pay anything for it. I can't go into all the details. I'm not cleared to yet, but this is a big deal. So we're definitely dealing with something very profoundly awful right now.
Yeah, it sounds like David Wilcock's karma is finally catching up to him. And for those unaware, David Wilcock claims that he sunk millions of dollars into this shady, scammy aerospace company that's never produced a single airplane product or airplane, which he also claims would produce free energy hover cars that you wouldn't even have to put fuel in. And he's at least a year, maybe a year and a half by now behind in when he said that originally announced this and said they'd have a working prototype to show everyone within a year. That was maybe 2.5 years ago. All he's shown is plastic 3D printed. They look like G.I. Joe toys. But now he's upset because everybody's calling them out on their bullshit.
It's exactly the same things happening to Alex. It's exactly the same thing that's happening to Steve, Bannon, and others. It came out of nowhere, really.
It didn't come out of nowhere. There's been multiple hearings about the lack of progress that your company made and how you didn't come through with any of your promises.
And it's shocking. If I told you all the details, you wouldn't even believe it because it's just so horrible.
Yes, just so horrible. So David Wilcock has had a tough week with people calling him on his bullshit. And it's about to get worse, David Wilcock. It's about to get worse because it's not just me anymore. And I'm happy to see that. We've got, the Hidden Podcast and others that are going after David Wilcock and his false claims and his false promises. There are multiple researchers, including Macario and John Spadavaccia, that are requesting comment from, court people and from local government officials and getting some progress towards providing some real clarity. David Wilcock, I'm here to warn you, you're not going to be able to lie to everybody anymore. There's too many people looking into your shady business dealings. There's too many people finding the court documents of everybody suing you and suing your shady company. You're not going to be able to keep up this facade. So my advice, actually, the cards on the table, I am sympathetic, regardless of how I feel about David Wilcock lying for decades to people and scamming people for decades with completely fake information. Remember, this is the same man who scammed everybody with stories of a secret space program for 8 years? And then Corey Goode admits in a court deposition that he made it all up, essentially, and that he's never even been to space. This man spent almost 8 years of his life telling people about a secret space program with Corey Goode that never existed. Then he moves to, years ago, and I never mentioned this before, but years ago, I was in communication with the Archangel Michael, who dictated these prophetic books to me, 7 of them, and then told me to sell them for $333 to you stupid people. And there was other scams before those as well. The lead up to 2012, he was promising everybody superpowers and how they needed to buy his shit to get ready for the Ascension event and the mass solar flash event. Now he's saying that, that happened on a different timeline, but he also said the timeline is fixed before and can't be changed. So he contradicts himself at every turn. David Wilcock is a low-life scumbag grifter who has been making money off of gullible people that just want to believe him for decades. And how does he pay those people back? With fake information, with false information, misinformation, disinformation. And then, of course, there's all his fake government insiders like Pete Peterson, who was a career con artist and scammer who participated in stock pump and dump scams and schemes, who never worked for the government, though David Wilcock claims he was a government insider, his #1 government insider, and now claims that Stavati and others that he's working with to build hover cars are close associates of that con artist, government insider. It's all so shady and so scammy and so scummy. But I still am sympathetic towards David Wilcock because, quite honestly, anytime there is a situation where somebody amasses a huge following and then there is a meteoric rise to this huge following, and let's be clear, David Wilcock once did have a huge following. But then when there is a meteoric fall, bad things happen. And I'm beginning to get concerned that some bad things may happen. You know, people get depressed, people get desperate. I don't wish any ill will on David Wilcock. I wish a road to redemption for all men, including him. But the first thing he has to do is be honest with his followers. Why don't you do a 3-hour live stream and show everybody all the court documents of your shady, scammy aerospace company getting sued by investors, by vendors that you never paid? Why don't you do a live stream and show people that you made what? How much was it? I don't know, David Wilcock. I'm just going to ask you, was it $10 or $20 million that you never paid income tax on, and now you owe the IRS $1.5 million, according to you? Why don't you tell your audience the truth for once? Why do I have to go after you and peel back all these layers of deception that you use to pretend that you're somebody important or somebody special? I'm here to tell you, you're not. You're just another scammy new age grifter con artist that is ripping people off, selling them fake information, false information, disinformation, and completely fake nonsense you claim comes from angelic sources. An angel would not lower themselves to communicate with a grifter like you. That's just my opinion, being a religious person myself, or at least being a spiritual person. I left the Catholic Church some time ago, but I still maintain a spiritual practice. I just don't see how David Wilcock recovers from this and finds a road to redemption. He's the first and foremost, he's got to stop lying to everyone. Tell everybody what you did with all that money. That's another thing. He collected, what was it, $200,000 for his charity, didn't do any charitable work, gave 1 cent on the dollar of all that money he collected, or what was it, maybe a nickel on the dollar of all that money he collected to other charities, and he spent the rest of the money on himself. For example, one year he spent, what was it, $4,500 on meals and entertainment for himself from charitable donations. Who thinks I'm going to give $300 to David Wilcock and he's going to spend $299 of that $300 I'm giving to his charity on himself? And there's the issue too. If we go through David Wilcock's charity, he spent thousands of dollars on software and equipment and broadcasting equipment and cameras and all this stuff. Is he using that same stuff, the software, the equipment, the supplies? Is he using that for for-profit live streams on YouTube where he's collecting super chats while he's using cameras and software and equipment that he bought with the charity money? That's not legal, but I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. All I know is that this man needs to be stopped, and we've done the best that we could to educate people. We consider what we do here of public benefit, and we try to be a public good. We try to give people the truth while others are lying. And I'm in constant communication with people who were once victims of David Wilcock. You know how many people gave him $333 and contact me and tell me that they feel like they were ripped off and that they didn't get what he promised? It's a bait and switch. He is a confidence man, which is the root of the word con man. Con man comes from confidence man, a man that speaks with such charisma and confidence that he convinces people to give him the money. But confidence men and con men inevitably always let people down. They never give you what they promise. David Wilcock has spent decades not giving people what they promise. Now we're going to take a moment and recognize, as my voice is completely shot here, we're going to take a moment to thank and recognize a whole bunch of you kind and generous benefactors. And Mike Larry, God bless Mike Larry. He has been here gifting all these memberships, which again, I'm going to tell you this. When people gift memberships, apparently, or I don't know how this works, but when Mike Larry and others gift these free memberships, if you are a subscriber but not yet a channel member, YouTube somehow, I think it's a random number generator. They just go through the the subscribers that are not yet members, and they randomly give out these free memberships. So if you haven't yet, be sure to smash that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. You'll know when we're doing a live broadcast here, and you may get a free membership and some extra goodies out of it. We thank Mike Larry for such kindness and generosity, and he's not done yet. He gifted another 5 Truth Seekers memberships. I think Mike Larry has bought hundreds of memberships in the past 30 days, gifted hundreds of memberships. What a kind and generous person. There he is, gifting 10 Truth Seekers memberships, and there's another 10. So there's 30. He gifted 30 Truth Seekers memberships just today. This is just today. He's the most kind and generous benefactor, and we thank him so much for his kindness, his generosity, and his incredible support of the show. What an incredibly kind and generous person. I can't thank him enough. Except now he's going to make me work harder because I have to do more members videos because we've got hundreds and hundreds of new members. Thank you, Mike Larry. We want to thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Here's a big shout out and thank you. And by the way, everybody wish the Cash Clown a happy birthday. Today is our Cash Clown's birthday. He turns 8 years old today. And he wanted me to tell you all, praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Thank you so much, Mike Larry. Mike Larry must be independently wealthy or something. We thank you so much for your kindness. Every time I do a show and I see all those gifted memberships, I go, oh man, Mike Larry's at it again. And we thank Thomas Robinson, another kind and generous benefactor who's also a member. So we thank him twice for a kind and generous 10-pound super sticker. Thank you for helping us to praise the cash. And yes, today, June 11th is our Cash Clown's birthday. My youngest son, Xavier, turned 8 today. We already had our cake and ice cream. He had his party over the weekend at Chuck E. Cheese, which was awesome. We had a lot of his friends and family, and had a great time at Chuck E. Cheese. But today is his actual birthday. So we thank you, Thomas Robinson, for helping us to
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right, and we've got more. Oh man, another. So now there's 40. Mike Larry bought 40 memberships, and friends, they're $5 a piece. So that's a couple $100 Mike Larry threw in the hat tonight. Thank you so much for your kindness, generosity, and support, and helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Oh man, thank you, Mike Larry. So generous of you. Thomas Robinson with a kind and generous, is that 50 pound? I think so. Super sticker. That's 50 pound. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Longtime show supporter and a YouTube channel member. Thanks so much for helping us to praise the cat.
You're watching Truth Seekers. Praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right, we've got a few more of you kind and generous people. If anybody else has anything to throw in the hat, do it now. We'll be wrapping things up because my voice is just not going to last much longer. We thank Legal Eagle for a kind and generous $5. Says David Wilcock buys his bison steaks from Linda Moulton Howe. Yes, and for those unaware, a while ago, people super chatted enough to get one of the bison ribeye, organic bison grass-fed ribeye steaks that David Wilcock said he had 2 freezers full of. We wanted to see how the other half lives. These rich new age gurus. So people super chatted more than enough. I have a few in my freezer. And every time I do a David Wilcock show, I forget and I apologize. I'm feeling terrible and I don't feel like eating a steak tonight anyway, but I promise you on a future episode, we're going to see how the other half lives. And thank you, Legal Eagle, for 2 things: being a longtime show supporter and chat room participant. 3 things: that, being a member, and your kind and generous $5. Thank you for your kindness.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right, and we've got Jeff Ulrey. We want to thank for 2 things: both being a member and for a kind and generous $5. says, every time a David cries, a Stephen gets their wings. That's absolutely true. And thank you for helping us to praise the cash. We want to thank all of you guys for helping us, especially Mike Larry, who made it rain up in here. So generous of all of you. Thank you, Jeff O'Ree. And we want to thank Legal Eagle, Thomas Robinson twice. And of course, Mike Larry. You guys have made it rain up in here. Thank you all for helping us. And we're a viewer-supported show, and I am so blessed. I will continue to be blessed. Thank you all for making me feel so blessed. We're a viewer-supported show, and we appreciate each and every one of you tonight. Mike Larry and all of you guys have helped us to make it rain up in here. Praise the cash, friends. Thank you all. And it is the Cash Clown's birthday. I will make sure that I show him the live chat. So if anybody has any birthday wishes, just put them in all capital letters for him. We'll call them out. We'll take a few comments and questions from the live chat. Okay. Mega Fan, who's also a member, says, Corey claims to be age regressed, but claims to remember the program like he's some sort of god. Yeah, but he admits in court he's never time traveled. He's never been to space. So it was all just fake stories to make money. Then he claimed that he basically told his followers that he lied under oath. He's a super genius. Rich in mind and spirit, says Martin R. Megafan says, Corey claims his memory was removed, but even though that's not true, he also claims to be able to remember the removed memories. Yeah. He would make a terrible science fiction writer because there's so many plot holes in his story that don't make sense, right? Megafan says, I watched the deposition of Corey 20 times, love it. Well, you may not be aware, but we here at Truth Seekers were the first people to publish all the depositions. And that was a very tough decision to make. But I decided that it was more in the public's best interest, and I would take whatever legal risks. I still have the letter. Corey Good threatened to sue me if I didn't take those videos down. We later took them down because of another situation, but I've decided that I will be returning all the Corey Good depositions and all the Corey Good videos. I made a mistake. I allowed another content creator who cried like a little bitch and Corey Good's legal threats to influence me. That's part of our history. And although those depositions have been copied and mirrored on many other YouTube channels, and they're out there, I still think that we should put them back and make sure people are aware that the only reason all those depositions are out there on the internet is because we had the courage to publish them. And but I thank you for appreciating that, Mega Fan. Yes, and we have Anonymous, I suppose. Thanks for being a member. Says, happy birthday to the young gentleman. I will pass that along to him. Yes, and Mama's Dope Boy says, happy birthday, Xavier. I will make sure I will play this the end of the show to him. He's going to be up late tonight. They're on summer break, so these kids have been staying up till midnight. I'm telling their mom, I'm like, it's 11 o'clock. Aren't they going to bed? No, they'll sleep in. They'll be fine. You know, we're letting them enjoy themselves, right? Will you be covering more Corey Good grifts? Admiral Rascals asked. I don't know, but I know it was a mistake to let another content creator pressure me into into taking all our Corey Good videos down and no longer covering Corey Good. But I will say this, I decided that I would add up every dime I made from Corey Good and give it to charity. And I've been giving $50 a month to Expanding Frontiers Research. And I will continue to do that until all the money that I made from the Corey Good videos, I think that's about, I don't know. I know it's over 1,000. I have to look. I'm content with giving that to Expanding Frontiers Research. They do great research. I just wanted that other content creator to stop crying and to say, okay, I took all the videos down and I will give all the money that I made covering Corey Good to charity. Therefore, I've never made a cent. Well, I did make it, but I'm giving it to charity. So go bitch and complain about something else, you know? But those angry, bitter people will always find a reason to complain. Scottish Allen 420 says, happy birthday. Cash Clown, hope you have a great day. Thank you. Archaic Revival says, you are wealthy, bro. Well, I'm very, very blessed. I will say that. I'm very, very blessed. I have a wonderful wife. I married the love of my life, and I had 2 beautiful children who keep my life extremely interesting. Turnham Nocturnal saves a fortune on day school, says Martin R. Yeah. Yes. And Ty Blee says, well, that's making the best of things. Solid move. Yeah. And I really want to support this expanding frontiers research. Corey seemed to have shady goons doing his dirty work. Yeah. He admitted under oath that he sent his manager to pay off a neighbor of one of his critics to take pictures and intimidate and harass one of his critics. That's something else. Semi-sentient being says, forgive my internet ignorance. How do I become a member? There's a join button. If you go to our main channel, there's a join button. I'll see if I can't help with that. Let me see if I can't help with that. Uh-oh. I'm starting a, I didn't mean to, but I'm starting a, 1 second here. Let me take some more comments and questions, and then I'll try to get you the main channel link. You go to the main channel. Oh, I have it here. You go to the main channel, and then there should be a join button at the main channel. So here, go here and press join. You may have to, if you haven't ever given your credit card information to YouTube, you may have to put, I'm going to, wait a minute. No, not go to channel. I want to pin that. I'm going to pin that message into the top of the chat. So anybody who wants to become a member, you can go there and press the join button. You may have to put your credit card information in if you've never done that with YouTube before, but that's one time. And then they'll charge you $5 a month and you get the extra goodies. And just to be clear, the Patreon is $1 a month. You can go to our Patreon. The link is in the description of the video and get the same goodies, but the $5 is for YouTube, and the extra couple bucks, you get the same benefits as the Patreon benefits, but you get some extra goodies like a YouTube channel membership and some other things that let other users know that you're a big supporter of the show. The dollar sauce is inedible. I don't know. Megafan says this channel is legit. Well, we thank you. And boy, we're getting an incredible amount of support. And I heard some funny stories about Contact in the Desert. Like somebody was going around Contact in the Desert playing me on their phone laughing. Like their ringtone is me laughing. And they were going around to booths or something where some of the grifters had booths and playing me laughing. So that made me laugh, right? John Jones says the CIA is helping him. Could be. Steve Mack says, happy birthday, Xavier. I'll let him know that, Steve Mack. Thank you. He gets a kick out of that interaction and things. $1.50. I don't know. $1.50. I don't know what that is, Archaic Revival. The Patreon is $1 and the YouTube channel membership is $5. So, but we appreciate every channel member, every Patreon supporter, everybody sending super chats or PayPal pledges. I forgot. We also have, you can send a PayPal pledge. Just be sure to add a note because often PayPal gives me your real name. Add a note and put your chat room user ID and any message that you want to send that you want me to read. So any message that you want me to read, just put it in a note and give me your chat room user ID. We want to thank Initials AM, who sent us a kind and generous $25 PayPal pledge. By the way, we read every PayPal pledge too, so the instructions for how to do that are in the description of the video. And AM says, long overdue, cheers, love what you do. The fact that you keep going at it, it's great. Humanity is greater because of you. Oh, thank you. Deepest thank you and appreciation, says AM. Thank you for the kind and generous support. We really, really appreciate it. And we thank you for helping us, AM, to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right, we've got one other PayPal pledge to read here. Initials PB with a kind and generous $10 PayPal pledge. Says, great show last night and tonight. Praise the cash, bitches. Yes, praise the cash. Thank you, PB.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right, so I think we thanked everybody that we need to thank. We want to make sure that we also thank you, YouTube channel members, especially all you new YouTube channel members. I'm hopeful that after you guys got those gifts from Mike Larry of the free membership, that maybe you'll find it in your heart to put the $5 up yourself. Remember, when you get gifted a membership, I believe it's only for the first month. And then after that month expires, in order to continue, you've got to put your own $5 up. I'm hopeful we're going to do some extra special content for you YouTube channel members, and maybe, hopefully, you'll find it in your heart to throw the $5 in yourself. There's hundreds of you now, thanks to Mike Larry and others who have been gifting these memberships. I lost track, Mike Larry. I don't know. I really think that he may have gifted 200 or 300. I don't know. There's hundreds. He's gifted hundreds of YouTube channel memberships. So big shout out to Mike Larry, longtime show supporter who is gifting all these channel memberships. The only downside is that now I'm going to have to do a lot of extra work every month because I feel like there's so many members that I can't just do a couple of things a month. I got to do a couple a week, right? And I've got some new things that I'm going to be sharing with the YouTube channel members and the Patreon supporters tomorrow. So thanks, Mike Larry, for making me work so hard. But you work so hard at supporting us that I feel obligated, and I will do that. If nothing else, just to thank you and the others for all of your kindness, generosity, and support. So my voice is getting shaky here. I'm going to go drink some hot tea with lemon, eat some cough drops, take some more Motrin. I think I got to take another penicillin pill. It's starting to go away. I can feel it, but talking this much is not probably good for the healing process. And I thought about taking tonight off too, but I just can't do it. I've got too much to cover this week. I'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I may decide to do, if my throat heals up and I feel good and my throat feels strong, I am going to go through that whole, we'll go through the whole David Wilcock stream if we have time this week or maybe this weekend. Sometimes I go to the cabin and all the work is outside building that porch, and then it rains all weekend. If that's the case, I will do a special cabin stream and try to cover that whole stream. For those unaware, we usually go through David Wilcock's stream and do commentary and criticize his nonsense for 3 hours or more. I just don't have the voice for it today, so I apologize for that. I want to thank Macario for sharing the documents, and John Spadavaccia, Spud Wife, and others who are all out there helping to peel back the layers of this new age scammer guru's fakeness, deception, and lies, and offer people the truth, the reality of what he is doing. And again, you know, I wish a road to redemption. I will be reporting the documents and things that I found to the IRS. I'm not even sure how to do that. I'm going to ask a journalist friend. They may know, because, you know, at some point you have an ethical responsibility to report things that you uncover in the course of your coverage. We'll be doing that. David Wilcock's legal troubles seem to be not going away. They seem to be multiplying as time goes on. And I have a feeling that that is karma. I think that is definitely karma sort of catching up to him. And, you know, it's about time. That's what I will say. You can't go through life lying to people for decades. Eventually, it's going to catch up to you. And if it's true what David Wilcock says, that he's dumped millions of dollars into this shady, scammy aerospace company, I think that's a form of karmic justice. He made all that money lying to people. So maybe he's going to lose all that money because somebody from that company lied to him. And he bought it, hook, line, and sinker, believing that they're really going to make airplanes. They haven't made anything in decades. I doubt they'll ever make even an ultralight, you know, I don't think they're going to make a gyroplane or an ultralight aircraft that costs a few $1,000s. They haven't made anything in decades. I doubt they ever will. Also, finally, a technical note and advice to any content creators. Some time ago, a friend of mine who's also a content creator gave me a huge folder full of music. And that music he told me this is all copyright free, royalty free. You can use this in your show. You don't have to worry about copyright claims. And so I did. And we have been using a great deal of music from one individual. You'll see in the description of the video, his name is Carl Casey, and his YouTube channel is White Bat Audio. And I want to apologize to him because I wasn't aware that although this artist lets people use his music, he requires attribution. What does that mean? That means that if I put one of his music pieces in the show here, and I have hundreds of times, I have to credit him in the description of the video. However, I was not aware of this. I was just told by the mutual friend, this is all royalty-free music. You can use it all you want. You won't get copyright claims. And for years now, I have used it, and we never got copyright claims. But apparently, I guess, word got back to that artist that we were using music. And that's some of the music in our intros and exits and bumpers. In any case, we didn't credit him properly. And even though I wasn't aware of it, I soon became aware of it because the artist decided if we weren't going to credit him, he was going to start copyright claiming us, and he did. But I think we've worked it out. I had to go through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shows, identify which ones used tracks from that specific artist, and then credit him in the credits, and we've done that. But just a word of caution to any content creator. You need to be very, very careful. Every piece of music that you use in your show, you need to know exactly where it came from and what the requirements of its use are. And I was somewhat ignorant of that. And being a musician myself, there's really no excuse. And so I apologize to Carl Casey from White Bat Audio. I had this huge folder of music, his and other people's. Wasn't aware that I had to put a credit in, didn't even know who he was until this situation came up. But we have since, so a few people told me, oh, that's Carl Casey from White Bat Audio, and you're in this bumper or that bumper. But again, I didn't know about the attribution requirement. And to be very clear and honest, the least I could do is thank him and credit him in the descriptions of the video. And so I've done that. I apologize to him. It'll never happen again going forward. Well, first of all, we have our own MIDI studio up to make synth music, and I'll be using more of my own original pieces in the show going forward. But in any case, I apologize to him. And just a word of advice to anybody that's a content creator on YouTube. You need to know every piece of music and where it came from and what the requirements of it are. It's just a good idea to do so. So I apologize, and we've credited. You might notice that I'm just going to put that credit in every single show going forward. Check out his YouTube channel. It's called White Bat Audio. You can just put that in the description, or excuse me, in the search bar, and you'll see a little white bat. Great music, great synthwave and other kinds of music. And just a great artist that allows other artists to use his work, but he wants to be credited, and that's the least that I could do. So I felt terrible about the situation. Want to make sure we put on the record that we apologize to him, and I've learned a lesson, which is I will never use music in the production of this show unless I know exactly where it came from, and I put that in the credits, even if they don't require it. I want to do that. It's the least we could do. So we've done our due diligence. I'm going to bounce on out of here, drink some hot tea with lemon and honey, and eat some cough drops, take some Motrin and penicillin, hopefully get some rest. But I'm sure I'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you will be here with me. So that's all I got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.
I believe that you will agree with me when I say that in the last few months, and especially the last few weeks, that the anointing of the Holy Spirit on the telecast has been exceptional. The letters that we are receiving, the comments that you are giving us, but above all, it's just there. And we thank the Lord so much for it, because it is the anointing that breaks the yoke. It breaks that yoke asunder, whatever the yoke may be. I want to thank you also for the help that you gave us last week concerning the appeals that we made, how we are rejoicing. I wish I could give you a total now. I can't. I just can't. I don't have it yet. But I'm asking you, please. God spoke with a lot of you that did not respond. And we love you and we thank you, but when God speaks to you, I know he'll bless you if you will respond. And if you could send a gift of $50.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
Here's what I want you to do. If the Lord is speaking to you, ushers, bring some baskets down. Just leave them there. I'm not finished. I got one more point to make. This is what I want you to do. Thank you, Miss Marguerite. I brought her because I want you to understand that the work must continue. This is not a plea for money, it's a plea for partnership so that we can be what we're supposed to be. I just need 497 people to say, I'll do 300.